Wednesday content.
Hey Ravi here.
Hi, Abhishek.
Hi everyone. I did not get laptop yet.
That's when I'm having the call. So it looks like we have small groups today. Let me see if there's anyone else who just joined. Michelle, hey, Nathan.
Hello, sorry I'm late. Raj will be a couple minutes late, but had to
No problem. All of us and going over. Hey, Michelle. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. We can start the conversation. I'm just going to share my screen. So the items that I got from our stand-up this morning that we need to, talk about are on the screen. You need to start talking about the URLs that we're going to be using for the developer portal. And for AEM, I can try to speak to, but I definitely think Vikram's going to have a little bit more knowledge about what we're doing there. So we may have to hold off on this one until tomorrow until I get back. And then the other topic that I have is that we need to start chatting about like the reference documentation, who's going to own it, and when do we have bandwidth and capacity to work on it? Like when would be the good timing for that? So would you guys like to start off on the URL?
That's
for the dev portal? Okay. So it's my understanding, these two URLs are, these sites are going to be separate, AM versus ACM, obviously. We've been talking about that. But for the dev portal, Abhishek, do we have an idea of what this would look like? Would it be like AIG.com question? Well, it wouldn't be AIG.com, but it would be like, developerportal.com project AIG, or what, do you know what the Mule team is talking about when it comes to this?
We would actually need Jeff to be on this call who can answer that. I know his team was working on the installation, and I really don't have any idea of what that would look like.
Oh, perfect. Jeff's right here on the call. Okay, please join us. So everyone should cut them over. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Naga. Perfect. Steve. Okay, So just quick backtrack, these are two topics that we identified in the stand-up that we need to chat about. The first one we're going over is we're just going to go ahead and start the discussion on the URL for the dev portal and ADM. So for dev portal, Jeff or Naga, do you guys know what it is we're gearing towards?
Yeah, we are still waiting on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
One second.
Yeah, Mike, this is Jeff. I can give you an update.
One second, Jeff.
Sure.
Okay. So, Anne, we are still waiting on the IRIS approval. I think we should be able to get it today today or tomorrow. Then we may be able to make progress on ACR once we get the IRIS approval. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so real quick on the IRIS approval, I was chatting with Sanjay before this call, and he was saying that so IRIS, like I saw from the chain, IRIS there's a couple of other processes that are being triggered from the IRIS.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, correct. Yeah,
So
but
would that impact
yeah.
the installation too?
Should not be. I talked to Eric Gray earlier today. I sent all the details he's asking for, and he said he will try to get the conditional approval today. He need to talk to his boss Deepak. So hopefully he will be able to give us the conditional approval maybe by today or tomorrow.
Hey Sanjay, I saw you
Yeah, I
joined.
think yeah. What I was thinking, Naga, based on what your assessment is today, put this project into to get the process right. I mean, look, we have been a great partner, and you guys have been also good partners for people to really get their things done, and they need to carry their own weight, right? And one of the tools that we have, you can turn this in red and highlight that issue, right? And
Yeah.
And I mean, last year I had the same situation. Every step of the way, I was picking the phone, calling the people, getting the favor and getting it done, right?
Yeah.
But that's covered up all the things, right?
Yeah, right. I think definitely there are some issues in the process. The process issues need to be fixed. It's been more than 8 weeks or 9 weeks we submitted the request. It's a small tool going in circles and circles.
Anne and I just told that to the PMO team. I said, look guys, this is actually what is happening. Because when you put products into that, and it goes to the CIO reviews. So it goes to Suhas first, and then from there it's going to go to that, right? So Suhas is aware of it, what's happening, right? But official channel is that the PMO will take it through, right? So if you guys need to let us know by the end of the day today, that if it is not getting to the level that we can make progress, we should highlight that. And that's okay. I mean, you guys are doing different how to highlight.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
And what if we miss the dates for our release? You and I are going to go get hold of for accountability, right? I think we will not. They will take their own time, right?
Yeah. That's the problem. They don't have any pressure at all. I don't know why it makes we are sending we are not sending all these follow-ups just for fun. We need to deliver. That's why we are sending. I don't know why they don't understand the urgency. They don't have any pressure. That looks like that's the problem.
I mean, we are reviewing, and Brad is putting together what we call the project delivery. In that, we are highlighting this whole process, how long it takes, what is the actual SLA is, and how long it really takes. And I was telling, I think, other folks last year, I touched upon 104 team members, separate teams to take the drug into production, everybody, right? This is a little bit lesser, but the process is really been cumbersome. So we need to highlight that. Okay.
Yes, Sanjay, I'll put that in our report. So just I'll wrap up this topic about some Iris before we get back to the agenda items. But for Iris, now that once we get the conditional approval either today or tomorrow, what's the next step with getting the licensing procured? I know you guys have been working on that on the side as well.
Yeah, we are working on it in parallel, so we will not lose any time. So once we get the IRIS approved, we should be able to make quick progress.
Okay, so we should have. When do you think we'll, Abhishek and team will be able to start like messing around in our own ACM environment? You think next week?
I think maybe next week. Yeah, maybe next week would be reasonable time. Provided
okay.
there's
Do you think
a
like
condition.
Monday, or are we looking like more like Friday?
Maybe you can put for Monday. We can adjust. We are see. You understand, right? This is the
Yeah.
It's not they have to give the approval.
Yeah.
So I think Sanjay, it looks like you tried to talk to Deepak. What does he say?
He going back to the same thing. He has no idea. He said,
He's the manager of the team. No, he's the manager of the team. How can you say he don't have any idea?
he's a process owner. He's a process owner, right?
Right.
He's a process owner, right?
Who is it currently pending? Do we know who it's pending currently?
Oh yeah, we know exactly who the people are, who folks are. So there is an email, and you want to put that out?
Sure. Yeah. That's what all the
So you know
different
exactly what we're
processes
paying
that it triggers. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I satisfied those trigger points, right? I sent the details. And
the funny thing is that there is a user experience, something along that line. Somebody needs to approve it. Go down. Yeah. Look at this. End user technology guide is not approving. I don't know why. There is nothing to do with end user technology here. I don't know what. So these are the. I also understand. We already have that SSO, what is called SSA file. So that's going to go through that. IMT Access Manager, partial ARB approval, right? That end user technology, I don't know why it is not approving. I understand the global technology production platform, right? There are some stuff that they're asking. Remote access has nothing to do with the remote access. I don't know why that guy had to approve it, but anyway. Enterprise architecture. I don't know. We have enterprise architecture team and his team in AIG. We had the architecture team in GI. We're thinking that there is somebody in that need to approve. Network services need to approve. The technology developer risk control that we need to fill out, we have to file that another risk review path to be able to really do something. And then also we're asking for the detailed
peer reviews. These are all peer reviews that you're talking about, and the guy who actually manages the path is Greg Marco.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. They are not doing peer review. These guys are owning the path, so they are requesting the information, and they're asking us to fill out the forms. They're asking us to this is beyond peer review.
This is for ACM, right?
Can you go further?
This is for ACM, right?
They're asking. Pardon?
This is for ACM, right?
This is for ACM, yeah.
Naga and I thought we were chatting with Greg Marco on this and Eric.
nothing is
They are the
moving
one who's
fast.
asking us.
Yeah. Maybe we need a call with him to make him understand what this is, right? And it will ease up the process.
There have been 6 conversations with that Lee and Naga has done it. Matt and I have done it. We have done it. And we also have been talking to Deepak, how can we take the control of this? So to again.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. No, I'm telling Anne, Anne, I think I responded on top of this. Hope you saw that.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. I think this is just a slightly different chain, but yeah.
Again, nonetheless, good news is that at least the right focus from people is there, right? I know it's a process. We have to work through this. The only thing is that this need to, for us, it's going to announce and it start impacting us, right? If we don't get this under control.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm just making note about that, the conditional approval that, of course, pending when we get it. But, we'll be able to get the licensing, you guys think, fairly quickly? Like, how long do you think between the time that we get conditional approval that we'll be able to actually start developing? Is that like a couple of days, or is that
Couple of days, a couple of days is
Yeah, shouldn't be more than a couple.
Okay. All right. Cool. That helps. All right. Okay, so if you guys are good, I'm gonna just pivot back to these items over here, just so that we can get some questions answered for the next iteration. So I know we don't, we haven't been doing a ton of development work with this, obviously, APM, we haven't had the licenses, but do we know generally what the URL format would be for the developer portal, having talked to the MuleSoft team? And I guess, Jeff, I guess you'd be in this conversation too. Do we know what it would look like?
I think it will look like very vague, but we need to create a DNS name, right? So that DNS name we have to decide. Then we can work with the network team and get it set up. So Raj, do we have any standards, or simply can we say developer.aig.and.com or something like that?
We have a corporate marketing team. So any URL which is exposed to the external world, we run it by them and they validate and say whether this URL makes sense or not. They basically check for a trademarks issue or any infringements or whatever the case may be.
Okay, maybe do you have contact for that? Maybe Anne can run with that.
I do have a contact for that, and so we'll have to. Maybe we should, give them an option and say, hey, these are the URLs we are thinking about. Please tell us which one is, which one they agree with, and they'll come back and say, this makes sense or doesn't make sense or whatever it is, right? Or they might say that all of these are okay. You pick and choose whatever you want. So do you have a list of those URLs?
So no, I don't have a list. That's what I was kind of asking you guys, like generally how do we do this URL formatting? Like you were saying, like do we agree doing developer.aig.com?
No, when I discussed it with Sumesh, he was talking about developer.api.aig.com or developer.aig.com. One of them he was talking about, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So if we do that, is that going to be with when somebody clicks on that URL or types that URL, is that going to go to the AEM page?
No. So the AEM page it's going to be a page that's created off of the current AIG.com site that has an AMH section. But the URL for the ACM portal should not be the same as the AEM. Like they should be completely different URLs, right?
Okay, but but who are we going to publish these URLs to? Developer.aig.com. Who are we going to give it to? Are we going to
maybe the AEM site should be something like partner.aig.com or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Salesforce has the ability to create custom domains. So again, I'm not sure if the MuleSoft side, the ACM side overrides that or not, but there is an ability to create a custom domain. So.
Yeah. So another question is, do we need to actually create a developer.aig.com type of URL for public domain consumption?
I think that's what we are thinking, right? Unless we say always entry point is from AEM, then we don't need.
That was my understanding. All the entry points are from AEM, and once a contract is signed and the developers are onboarded, right? BDM is going to send them a URL to access. That URL could be, developer.aig.com, if you will.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Yeah.
Right?
That's my understanding too.
Right?
I think we're on the same page, yeah.
Okay. So then that URL could also be called AIG-API.aig.com, right? So I think we just need to write up a couple of name guys and present it to the marketing team. Why don't we just write some out, right?
Yeah.
So the first one is developer.aig.com. The second one could be developerapi.aig.com.
Yeah. Okay. So there's two.
And another one could be api.aig.com. Right? What else?
Mm-hmm.
Raj, do we need to worry about a sandbox or model environment that's not true prod B2B versus a playground? Like domain is part of that?
Everyone, we don't have anything, right? We are
Right, but naming convention wise, do you have to worry about folding it into your convention?
No, right now for MVP1, I don't think we have any sandbox, right, Naga? We are not giving any sandbox.
No sandbox, no authentication also.
Yeah. So MVP2, we may have a sandbox, and if we do have a sandbox, then it will become something like api-dev.aig.com, API_dev or API-dev or something like that, or POC or sandbox, whatever we name that.
Yeah, I posted some sample sites name on the chat, if you guys can see. Developer.hsbc.com, developer.travelers.com, portal.api.ip.australia.gov, something. Yeah, okay, good. You pasted it. Yeah, maybe we can take some names from there, the formats.
Wow. Okay, hold on.
Just sample, right? So,
Yep. Okay. What I can do is I can take this and give this example to Amanda. And we can get her thoughts on it and then go to the infringement or that team that's going to check to make sure that we're not stealing someone's URL. But Raj, who was the contact for that team?
Yeah, I'll send you that, and I don't have it. I don't remember it off my head.
No problem. Yeah, just send it over. I'll send this out in meeting notes, and then we can get Amanda to approve approve a list of names for both Dev Portal and AEM. But I do think that it's a good idea. I think one of you guys did partner.aig.com. It would make sense to just keep it in the same format, but put partner instead of developer. Just mirror the same URL.
And just for some conventions, can we make all of them to lowercase?
Yeah. You can do that. Okay. Hang on. No. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the idea, guys. We can, if you guys are good, we can move on to the next topic, and we'll take this up with Amanda. Okay. For reference documentation, what I mean by that is the any kind of documentation that the developer would use to use our API. One question is, what does that include? And then also, do we have capacity for someone to start working on this now? And if so, who's going to be that person? So when we say reference documentation, like I guess Abhishek and Naga, what do we need to provide the developer for them to be able to pick up the API? What kind of material? Other than the API itself, like the code.
Yeah, I think generally we create a developer guide, right? Maybe Sudhakar, we have some developer guides, right? I think we might have created for others.
Yeah, for this one we have to create Naga. We created for others, but for us,
Yeah, that's correct.
we create again.
Yeah. Right. So do you need sample and or just can developer guide will be created?
Yeah, that's fine. What we'll do is we'll create a user story just to reflect that you guys are doing this, but like Sudhakar, just so that I can understand like how extensive is the developer guide, or is it, you know, fairly high level? Like I'm trying to estimate time it takes here to create a developer guide.
No, it is a much lower level kind of, you know, each attribute what it is, and all this like low. It's a technical developer.
Okay. So how long does that typically take to crank out? Is that like a couple of weeks or what?
Yeah, I would say 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
So an iteration?
Yeah, one iteration.
Okay. So is there, I know we've got a fairly full iteration next for this upcoming iteration, but I guess the Dr. and Naga, when do you guys typically start creating these guides for the APIs? Are we in a spot where we should go ahead and start now?
Yeah, we can go ahead and start working on it.
Okay.
Yeah, as part of the iteration, and we can take it.
Okay.
So, and we already created some documentation there for the APIs, you know, just that it might not be in a standard format that we typically like supply, you know, but there is some documentation that we can use. But I would say like at least 2 weeks of time, you know, just to make sure. And again, it is again dependent on that ACM, you know, because all this documentation would reside there on the ACM portal. The API section is where all this.
Yeah, Abhishek, this developer guide, we should not talk about ACM. We just talk about like, you know, if they are trying to integrate with our API, how they need to do it, right? If it is a sample request, each element, right? What is a var or integer and other length, you know. I will show you one of the developer guide. We just need to follow.
Yeah, that it's nothing to do with the developer portal, right? Yeah, a developer portal acting as a catalog at this point, right? Whereas now they have to integrate with the real API. So for MVP1, we have to give all the details.
No, how we'll share these details? Is it
email for
through
now?
email?
Yeah.
The welcome package, right? As part of the welcome package, the developer welcome package, they send it.
Okay, yeah, because is this
maybe in the future
okay.
In the future releases maybe we'll add more information on the developer portal so that
right, because that offline thing I think we should get rid of it at some point, definitely.
Yeah, because see, for the MVP1 we are not integrating with Okta, remember? That means we have to give this information only to the authenticated users. So once we implement authentication, we'll put all these into that. Maybe we'll upload these developer guides to ACM developer portal. They can download and see. We'll figure it out how to do that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool. You guys think that you have the capacity to start working on that in iteration 1, the upcoming one?
Yes, we can take
point,
that.
Right? Yeah. The second one you can say post MVP one. That's MVP 2.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Does anyone have any questions on this? I know we're at there's one more minute left.
Do we have like a bigger feature that goes into all the means and modes of communication? So twofold. One, it's going to help all the members of the team understand what artifacts we aim to create in the future. And then two, for anybody like a future developer, business partner, if they say, where do I find API reference docs? Where do I find sample code? Where do I find help doc? You know, all the things that somebody, so it becomes almost like, I'm gonna call it communication plan for lack of better description. So we all know what we're marching towards as far as a larger feature deliverable for the whole team to work towards. Does that make sense? Like, what's the list of reference documents the collective team, you know, Naga, Abhishek, anybody else is going to create core business partners? Do we know that?
Yeah, and I think at this point we know about the developer guide, right? As we move forward, we have to come up with those documents. Some information we may directly put into developer portal. I think most of the information we should directly put into developer portal, right? It has
Yeah, I think right now the scope in terms of just having like these like communication documents is like the primary ones that we've identified are just, you know, having mock APIs, which we've already done. Having like a developer guide where the developer is able to follow and be able to take the APIs and use them in their own code. Beyond that though, we obviously business or us, like we've identified any other documentation that we need, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong. The only things that I think that are beyond this is partner onboarding, and that's more from a business side, from the Salesforce side of like, okay, great, you want to become a partner of AIG, what are your steps to becoming a partner? And that's something that Amanda and Sanjay and myself are talking about. So I think that this group needs to worry about that documentation.
Okay.
And then further down the line, then we'll have like, we're gonna, you know, aim to have certain capabilities enabled within the portal, like, you know, reporting incidences, being able to have like a little chat room or a discussion board amongst the developers so they can troubleshoot issues or share ideas, things like that. So those items are going to be lost into like an MVP2 capability. Or MVP3, but since we don't know which box that fits in right now, we're not putting a label on it. That's just post MVP right now.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So, I have a question. Do we have any kind of flow, diagram as who will be involved at what stage? So we will be, talking like, 100 plus partners onboarding, right? Like, when the partner comes, who will be involving and at what stage, what kind of documentation and the roles and responsibility of the person, right? Who will be involved and at what stage?
From our perspective, like, I mean, we have our like partner journey that shows like which team is going to be responsible for what action that the partner or the user takes. But I think to your point, we should build that out a little bit more to show like the specific roles and responsibilities and materials to be shared. And that's something that can be part of the onboarding package. So
Yeah,
I can take that as a takeaway. Yeah.
My question was like, during partner, once a medium approves the developer onboarded, developer may need to interact with one integration manager or somebody, developer, integration developer, exchange the information and work with them, create any IDs or such. And if they have any issues, environment issues, to whom to contact, who is the right person to contact, and move on to the development life cycle once they completed, the testing and review the test cases to make sure they did and they are, they're correctly integrated without there is no issues with the integration, right? Like the data quality and reviewing the test cases.
Yeah.
And also finally onboarding into the production, right? To make sure there is no issue with the onboarding in production.
Yep.
So all the different stages, right from the interacting partner interaction to the end, onboarding to the production. So we list of steps and who will be involving and at what stage, what is their role and responsibilities.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree. Right now we just kind of have, like you said, like the the quote person is BDM and integration manager are the main point of contact, but I think we should start putting names to that. I'll work with Sanjay and Amanda on that. Okay, anything else? You guys, I'll send this out. You all have access to these notes. Okay. All right. Thanks for staying over. Have a good rest of your day. Talk tomorrow.
Thanks, Ann.